Okay, Ambassador Haley, thank you for talking about all the issues. What would your priority be day one when you're president in trying to fix what's going on wrong with the country?
Bless you. It's a great question. I mean, the first thing is people always think you're going to jump into legislation. And that's not the first thing you do. And I'll tell you, because I did this as governor and I'll do it as president. The first thing you do is control what you can control, and that's your agencies. So when I went in as governor of South Carolina, I replaced the head of every agency. And then I sent people into every one of those agencies to clean it up. Clean up old programs, clean out the bureaucracy, get rid of problem children, all of that. In some cases, we tweaked agencies, and in other cases, we gutted agencies. So think of our intelligence agencies, our Department of Justice. There's multiple agencies we need to really clean house with and gut. Department of Education, those are ones you just clean it up. Then we went and said, we gave them benchmarks. Every 90 days, they had to accomplish certain benchmarks to prove to the taxpayers that they were giving them a return on investment. After that, we looked at their spending. Agencies spend because they're worried they're not going to get the same amount the next year. So what we did was we called them out on it. We put all of their spending online so that everybody could see it. Because when I went into agencies, I had open closets, and it was towers of computers, towers of printers, paper that they spent just because they wanted to get the money the next year. And then we incentivized them to give money back to the taxpayers. And my agency started to compete to show the taxpayers who was more efficient, who was more effective. Just imagine if government worked for you again. Just imagine that. We will do that. That's the first thing you do. And when you do that, guess who notices? The taxpayers, yes. Congress notices. Because if you go and get fiscally responsible within the agencies that you have, guess what? Now it's their turn. And then we go and we say to them, we're going to do bottom-up budgeting. What do we have to have? Not what have you always funded. What do we have to have? Zero-based budgeting from the top up. And then you work it that way instead of them saying, well, we did this last year, oh, and we need more. No, we've got to reverse that cycle and make sure we fix it. And you set examples. So I'll give you an example. At the United Nations when I got there, my first week, when everything's swirling around and you're drinking from a fire hydrant, someone who worked for me at the U.S. mission of the United Nations, there's a U.S. mission there, one of the people got on the phone with the press and told them what my plans were. None of it was right. And I went to my staff and I said, I don't know who that is. Find whoever it is and fire them. You're never going to guess who it was. John Kerry's sister. I went and I said, I don't care who she is. I want you to fire her. They said, you can't. She's here for 6 more months. And I said, you take her key pass, you take her computer, and I will pay her to sit at home. And we paid her to sit at home. She did not come back in there. We didn't have anybody else at the U.S. mission try and do that again. You have to make examples. You have to set the tone. So the tone that I will set will not only get our agencies back on track, it will get Congress to realize that I'm a doer and they better be a doer. And then we're going to call out anybody, Republican or Democrat. If you're not doing right by the taxpayers, we're going to call you out. If you do right by the taxpayers, we're going to praise you. That's how we'll get things going again. That's how I did it in South Carolina. That's how we'll do it in the country. I want to thank you for taking the time to be with me. I'm going to leave you with this. When I ran against that longest-serving legislator in a primary, people laughed at me. And I got to work, and I earned their support, and we won. When I ran for governor, I ran against a lieutenant governor, an attorney general, a very popular congressman, and a state senator. I was Nikki Who. I had 3% in the polls. I had the least amount of money. But I worked South Carolina like no one else, and we won. When I got to the United Nations, they said I didn't have enough experience. And I got to work, and I took the kick me sign off of our backs. I have been underestimated in everything I've ever done. And it's a blessing because it makes me scrappy. No one's going to outwork me in this race. No one's going to outsmart me in this race because we do have a country to save. But I will say this. If you liked what I had today, go tell 10 people. Tell them to go to NikkiHaley.com. Tell them to volunteer for us. Tell them to caucus for us. Tell them to pitch in $5, $10, $25. I've got Billy on the ground. Billy, where are you? We've got people on the ground. If you want to caucus, go find them, and we'll make sure that we have you, and we'll fight the good fight. If you don't like what I've had to say today, shh. Just don't say anything and don't tell anyone you were here. God bless you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.